I was apprentice to the most powerful Sith Lord of all. You may know him as the Emperor. I was destined to become so much more. But I was robbed of that destiny. I lived in the darkness, hid in the shadows, discarded, forgotten. Formerly Darth, now just Maul. I had to find my own way.
Welcome, Masters and Padawans, to episode 627 of Full of Sith. It's me, Bryan Young, host of the show, and I've got something really special and cool for you today. We have some roundtables for Maul, Shadow Lord, which the first two episodes kicked off this week, which I'm really excited about. I was able to attend the fan roundtables for them, which I was able to do side by side with some great fan podcasts and sites and shows that you'll recognize. You'll hear on this episode folks from, I've got a complete list for you. So James Burns from Jedi News, Trisha Barr from Fangirls Going Rogue, Caitlin and Charlotte from Sky Talkers, Mark Newbold from Fantha Tracks, Sarah and Richard from Skywalking Through Neverland, William from the Ion Cannon podcast, Kerwin and Keith, love those guys from the Father and Son Galaxy podcast, and David from the Endor Express. And we all got to talk to Sam Witwer and Gideon Adlon, who are the leads, obviously, of Maul, Shadow Lord. So Sam, obviously, if you've been listening to the show or paying attention to Star Wars for the last, 12, 15 years, he's been the voice of Darth Maul, or Maul, rather, since his resurrection on the Clone Wars. And Gideon is a newcomer to Star Wars. Well, sort of, and you'll kind of hear about that on the show. And is coming in as Devin Izara on Maul, Shadow Lord, who hopefully you've watched the first two episodes already and really gotten a sense of her character. She's a young Padawan and just really trying to find her place in the universe after Order 66, which is still kind of fresh in her mind. Which kind of sucks, with Maul sort of offering her sort of a really compelling alternative with what's going on in the galaxy. The other roundtable we did was with the incredible producer Athena Portilla, showrunner Brad Rao, and director Brad Rao, and the writer Matt Michnovetz, and just talking about how they put the show together and what they were thinking and sort of what influences went into this, installment of Star Wars. I have to say also that in order to do these interviews, I had a chance to watch the first 8 episodes of the show, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. This, without giving anything away, it really, I was pretty surprised. I was a little bit skeptical going in, watching something that's centered around a villain in Star Wars, which is a franchise that has everything to do with hope, and something that is, really, something that's really positive And Maul is not necessarily someone who's known for that sort of thing. And this show really rides that balance between the two and gives us again a new angle on Maul, which is something I'm also surprised by in a really interesting way, because Maul, we've seen him before this and we've seen him after this, so we've seen different versions of him, and we've seen the prelude and the aftermath to this. So seeing these new dimensions of him, I wasn't sure they'd be able to offer much new, but they have. They've found really interesting ways, and Sam Witwer is able to bring new material here and new pathos to the character. And in fact, some of my favorite moments with Maul are now actually in this series as you get toward the finale. It's really worth sticking to. I'm really excited to get together with Holly, hopefully next week, to talk more in detail about the episodes with her, to put on the show for you all. But in the meantime, you've got these interviews. So without further ado, here is Sam Witwer and Gideon Adlon with the folks that I mentioned and myself. And there you go.
Sam and Gideon. My first question is for Sam. If I wanted to ask you about your producing role in this and how creative you got to be, or how involved you were in this whole process.
They were kind enough to offer me a seat at the table. Really, what it came down to was they wanted to ensure that the character was authentic to how we've portrayed him over the past 15 or 16 years. And so I feel like my role is to hear what they want to do and say, okay, well, I think Maul would feel this way about it, or he would go about it in this particular way. But really what it is it feels like just a bunch of friends hanging out, spinning a Star Wars yarn. I mean, it's really a collaborative group, and everyone has such great ideas and so much energy. Brad Rao has tremendous vision for this. Matt Michnovetz has so much energy and so many twists and turns he built into the plot. Athena Portilla is a gunslinger of a producer. And we get to do this all for Dave Filoni, who created the show. So he has the overall vision, but we are lucky enough to execute on it. And it's been really, really fun. It really is like hanging out with your friends and making your own Star Wars. It's fun.
All right, we've got fangirls going rogue next.
Gideon, welcome to Star Wars. Can you tell us a little bit about learning that you're going to be working on a Star Wars project?
Of course. When I initially auditioned for it, I thought I was going in for a like 1920s mafia New York TV show. I had no clue. And then I went in for the in-person callback, which was also kind of the chemistry read. And then I knew. And the weight of that hitting somebody is like, oh my goodness. Okay, this is Star Wars. And she is a Jedi. It's kind of anyone's dream, really, to be a part of this world, this galaxy. So it hit me pretty hard. But straight away I walked in, and the first person that greeted me with a very strong, comforting handshake was Sam. And ever since then, really just having him by my side, and the whole team, actually, it's very quickly become a family, which has also helped ease me into this whole thing and make me feel comfortable in the world, which can be a lot of pressure, but it's been really great.
All right, Father Son Galaxy, you're up next.
Hello, this is Keith and Kerwin at Father Son Galaxy.
Hi.
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 Hello. My question is for Mr. Witwer. There's an interview where you discussed a moment where you outgeeked Dave Filoni. How long have you been a Star Wars fan, and what sparked your passion for the saga?
Well, I think my generation we were born with it. We had no choice but to be quoting those three movies when we were growing up. They were just built into your brain when you were born, when I was, or when Dave Filoni was. And I will tell you, you know, I suppose it's a proud moment that I got him once, because he's gotten me many, many times where I was going to go off and do some wild thing. And he goes, "Now, Sam, you must remember that in Attack of the Clones, this happened." Oh, right, right, right. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. You know, the guy, he was a Star Wars encyclopedia since before he was George's Padawan. And I do love that we are making a show here with Maul Shadowlord, created by the one guy who knows Star Wars better than anyone, save George Lucas. So yeah, I'm a huge fan. I love this stuff. Star Wars is like my favorite thing. And yeah, I mean, you know, I actually will send Dave Filoni pictures of Star Wars minis that I paint. This is real. This happens.
Sam,
So,
you've never shown that.
you don't want to see, if you want to see, I'll send them to you. Yeah, I've painted Ewoks. It has happened.
Oh,
I paint them to look like my dogs. So yeah, I love Star Wars so very much. I'm a fan first before anything.
Full of Sith, you have the next question.
Yeah, I'm a question for Gideon. Having been around these guys and these shows for a long time on this side of it, and the last answer really exemplified that. These guys know Star Wars in and out. Um, I like asking questions about sort of the characters and Star Wars, and Devin's a really interesting character, and I'm curious, watching the episodes, Devin seems really torn about her master and a lot of the really compelling things that Maul has to say, and I'm really interested in your take on that, and how you took on what Maul was saying to her, and how you stepped into that sort of thing, and how you brought that to life.
right. Devin is young and she has, you know, a few paths in front of her and she's figuring out what she wants to take. I think the reason that she listens to Maul so deeply, even though maybe she doesn't want to admit that she is because she sees a very extreme similarity between the two of them. They reflect each other in ways. Maybe Maul from his childhood, maybe he sees himself in Devin. Devin might see herself, her future self in him, you know, who knows? But you know, she's trying to figure out her path. And it's difficult, and she's very young, and she loves her master Daki, and would do anything for him. And I think the journey that you'll see Devin take really shows her love and nobility and what she would do for her master, but also shows that she's really trying to figure out who she is. And that curiosity she has will go to extreme lengths. I hope I didn't give too much away. There we go. It's so scary trying to talk about it and get in trouble.
Right, Sky Talkers, you have the next question.
Hi, I'm Caitlin from Sky Talkers. It's so great to talk with both of you today. My question is for Sam. You've performed Maul at many stages in his life and always brought a new shade and tonality to his voice each time. Was there anything different about your vocal performance for this period of Maul's life for you?
Hopefully it's a different performance every time, I think, because I'm I think it's my job to kind of reinvent him. And we've done this before, right? You know, obviously when we did Maul to begin with, we started him as this very crazed creature, really, when he was on Lothal Minor. Then there was early Clone Wars, which, you know, the young apprentice doing what he was trained to do, and yet doing it in a different way, because, you know, he trained so hard to kind of, you know, train to be an Olympic athlete, and then he missed the Olympics. So then he started following through on his training, building up armies and such, building up the first version of the Shadow Collective. But that was all sort of him doing what he was programmed to do. When you get to late Clone Wars, he's starting to think for himself a little bit more. And he's also had the experience of losing his family, losing Savage Opress. And so there have been a lot of things that have started to spark thoughts. And he's starting to realize and recognize that perhaps Sidious is the true source of his suffering. Then you jump over to Rebels, and he's an old man at the end of his rope, old master. So every time I think it is on us to bring a new version of that character to the audience, because otherwise, what would be the point? You know, if you've already seen Maul, why would you need to see that version again? We already have that, right? So this version of Maul is a Maul who is reassessing everything about his life and is really rather confused and doesn't, as much as he loves to think of himself as the master, and he has a whole plan and a bigger plan and wheels within wheels. I don't think he totally knows where this is all going. I think he has a lot of questions. You know, like for example, I mean, you know, he was trained to hate the Jedi Knights by Sidious. Well, if you look around and you see the empire now that Sidious was building, and you thought you knew what that would be, but now you're seeing the real empire. And it's grotesque and it's awful. Might you start questioning absolutely everything he said to you? And how far could you go with that questioning, considering his indoctrination was the first and only thing you knew through all of the formative years of your life? So Maul is trying his best to break out of that. You know, how he regards the Jedi Knights, for example, would be like, wow, you know, they were rather extraordinary if asleep at the wheel. So he weirdly is trying to look at everything through new eyes. He's trying to have a new respect for certain things, but this is all through the training and limited tools of someone who was raised by the most diabolical Sith Lord of all time. So, yeah.
Skywalking Through Neverland, you're up next.
Hi, this is Sarah from Skywalking Through Neverland, and I had a question for both of you. I want to talk about the recording sessions, and I wanted to know, like, what is your process for tapping into your characters' voices? Is it something physical or mental or both? Gideon, can we start with you?
Sure. I think it's always both. Physicality in a voiceover booth is very important in terms of, you know, performance. The way you move is going to affect the way your voice sounds, and Star Wars is very physical. You know, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of emotion, there's crying, there's screaming, and you got to move with it. So just having an environment that's so, like, we trust each other. Sam and I really trust each other, and like, it's, if you're not ready to let go and to really just dive into that, it could for somebody. But it's really become you know, just a very important part of my work, having Sam there with me always to record. We bounce off each other very well, and it's been lovely.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to approach these scenes if I didn't have Gideon there. You just don't know. You wouldn't know what to do. I rely entirely on her because she's so surprising. She's such a surprising actor and so committed. So, yeah, it would be, my performance is entirely dependent on hers.
Right, Jedi News, you're up next.
Thanks very much. Thanks both Sam and Gideon for taking the time to talk to us. Gideon, this one's for you. This isn't your first foray into a Star Wars character. You played Pac Relda in Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures. You voiced that character as well.
Is this true?
I think I did. Did I? I might have. Did I? I remember doing ever doing that. Oh my goodness. It must have been a very tiny little one line
It was.
thing.
I think your character really liked Galaxy's Edge, if I remember rightly. So yeah,
I
it's
feel such a
fine.
sense of betrayal here, guys. I thought that
No, Sam, you shouldn't.
It was a small.
As confused as you are, but I will say this really is this is my hello to the Star Wars.
Okay, because I was going to ask how that compared, and obviously that's very much a young preschool
There's
show,
no
whereas this
comparison,
is
and
a
I'm not
grown up.
trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be rude to anybody, but I don't remember doing that.
It's okay.
I don't remember it. I don't remember that.
Well, I'm
But
going to remember it when I
this
see
is
it. I'm
my.
seeing it. I can't wait to see it. I want to see you in a young Jedi adventure. That sounds amazing.
This is my introduction to Star Wars, truly. This whole situation.
I didn't mean to get you into trouble.
No, I don't think you are. I think this is really funny, actually.
I'm teasing.
Oh
I'm teasing.
gosh. Oh gosh.
No, but you know, that's the thing. I hope that Gideon has a long road with Star Wars, playing all kinds of different characters, because her talent would we would do well to use her as often as we can, because she's so talented and committed.
Dan.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Ion Podcasts, you're up next.
Thanks. This is William Dever with Ion Canon Podcast. My question is for Sam. Sam, Maul's return in the Clone Wars back in 2012, hard to believe it was that long ago, was a seismic moment for the character and for Star Wars storytelling. And now 14 years later, he's finally the lead of his own series. What does that mean for you to see Maul step into the spotlight as the central protagonist? And how has that also shaped your performance and how you approach this?
It's trickier than it seems. If it seems inevitable, if it seems breezy, that's because Brad is a very talented filmmaker. But figuring out how to play him in this show was not a straightforward process. Because Star Wars is such a moral mythology. It's about selfishness versus selflessness. And so to put one of the more selfish characters in a protagonist situation, it kind of blurs the lines between protagonist and antagonist, you know? It's a situation in which we must now understand why he does everything he does. We do not necessarily need to agree with him, though. That's the key. Hopefully, if I'm doing my job right, people are absorbing from these performances that he's not the happiest guy, and that this is not the best path to being a happy, actualized person. Maul has a lot of problems and a lot of flaws, and one of his flaws is he seems to have the facts straight a lot. He seems to tell the truth a lot, but his interpretation of those facts, I think, can be questioned. You know, he doesn't ask himself where his own suffering is actually his responsibility. He loves to point the finger at others. And the problem with him is that, in fact, he's right to an extent. Now, for example, when it comes to Darth Sidious, you know, Darth Sidious is the initial source of his suffering, but there comes a point where everyone has to take responsibility for themselves and their own actions, and can no longer blame other people for them reacting or acting in a way that is not very cool, you know, in a way that's negative, a way that's hurtful. So that's a step that Maul has a hard time taking. Or making the step. Do people take steps or make steps? I'm not really sure. But yeah, you know, it's interesting. He's really trying to be different. He really is. But his father figure, the man who raised him, is Darth Sidious. So how much success is Maul going to have? Wait and see.
Thank you.
All right, and our last question is going to come from Fantatrax.
Hi guys, Mark from Fantatrax here. Question for Gideon. Dave Filoni casts are notoriously known for being a great commune, a great group of people, very much working together. How have you found the cast on this show?
Fantastic. I mean, we have Dennis Haysbert, we have Wagner Moira, Charlie Bushnell, we have incredible people, and I've been so lucky, and I felt so coddled you can just, as an actor, joining this group of artists, you can just feel how much time they took to cast this show and the work that they put in to find these artists to portray these characters in this new zone of the galaxy. I don't know how to put it properly. Zone of the galaxy, Sam?
Zone of the
Is that what
Galaxy. I like it. I'm going to back you up on that.
you can just feel it, how Dave is particular in welcoming people into this world. And actually, now that you say it, like, yeah, it's just every day it becomes more and more of an honor, truly, that I get to be a part of it as well.
All right, everyone, that is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for your questions and for your time. Please say your goodbyes and exit the Zoom.
Before everyone goes, one of the things I want to state is a lot of people ask the question, what do you have to watch before you enjoy this show? What do I need to see? What do I need to catch up on before I can watch Maul Shadowlord? The answer, nothing. Nothing at all. This show's got you. If you have never seen Star Wars before, you will understand what's happening in this show. If you have no idea who Darth Maul is, don't worry. We got you. You'll learn all about him through the show. And there's all these other wonderful characters that will engage you and surprise you. The top of that list being Devin. It's a wonderful, wonderful show, and you do not need to do any homework to enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you
congratulations.
both for your time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Always a pleasure talking to Sam, and really love hearing from newcomers to Star Wars like Gideon, and it's always great to get to hear from them. Now we'll pivot to Athena Portilla, Brad Rao, and Matt Michnovetz.
We're going to start out with Endor Express, David Ye.
Hello, guys. Thanks for joining us. My question is for Matt. You've been writing Star Wars for so long. How much of the show is David Filoni asking you to do it? How much of this is you begging for this to be made?
That's a great question. It's constant. It's just a constant recipe. It's Filoni with all his brilliant ideas and throwing them at us, and me and this incredible team just rolling with it, and then trying to make it work.
Thank you. I loved it. So it was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next up from Fangirls Going Rogue, Trisha Barr.
Hi, my question's for Athena. Through all this time, Star Wars' animation's been improving and trying to get better. What was something you wanted to improve or learn through this show?
I've been wanting to improve the body mechanics. So the first thing we did was go into the rigs to see what additional pivot points and blend shapes were necessary to give each character their own personality. I also wanted to upgrade the facial animation. And we were lucky to have Sam Witwer be open to us recording him. He would actually drive from LA to here, and we would video reference his face. We wouldn't do mocap, but we would pass off that information to our internal animation team and to our CGCG animation team to try to get the emotion and nuances to come through in the character. So that was a lot of fun to do, and I'm glad we were able to do it.
All right, next up we have Kerwin from Father Son Galaxy podcast.
Hello, this is Kerwin and Keith of Father Son Galaxy.
Hey guys, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. My question is for all three of you. Could you tell us about the look of Janix and what were your inspirations for the city's landscape?
Yes. Our inspiration for the city landscape was an artist by the name of Jeremy Mann, as well as the film Blade Runner, to try to get that pulpy, painterly brush stroke look. We actually would do oil on canvas matte paintings, shoot those and composite them to give it that type of feel.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so fun. Yeah, a lot of Sid Mead from Blade Runner we were looking at. One big thing we wanted to do is make sure that it didn't look like Coruscant, make it feel very different and vibrant and be a character of its own as we go to different lower depths of the city and strange new areas. And it's fun. It's a really cool place. And create fun set pieces for all the wild roller coaster action that we have.
Next up from Full of Sith, Bryan Young.
Hey, it's Brian from Full of Sith.
Hey, all right.
Great. One thing I wanted to ask, really all of you is, Star Wars is very much part of this legacy of storytelling about really hopeful stories about people overcoming evil, and we have a show about a character who's sort of known for being evil, and this show managed to thread a needle of maintaining hope while centering Darth Maul, and I'm wondering what conversations there were behind the scenes about um, threading that needle and how carefully you paid attention to that and how that construction happened.
Hope. I mean,
Yeah.
Filoni would always say when we're working on these projects to always incorporate hope into what you do, to bring some light to darkness. So even though he's a villain, there's some ways to resonate with the fact that there are mistakes that are made, the fact that there was loss of family in his, childhood and all. And even though he's seeking revenge, it is something that you don't empathize with the revenge. You just empathize with the fact of how much he lost.
Yeah. And we have some really interesting new characters to contrast against that darkness. We like to say the hope will shine brighter against darker darkness. And this show is a great example of that. Devin, played by Gideon Adlon, Captain Brander Lawson, played by Wagner Mora, are really, there's so many characters, but those two in particular, they have their own agendas, but they're the good guys. They're trying to fight against the evil. So how we filmed that, how we wrote that, how we had the musical cues played to that was a big thing. We talked about it constantly. Yeah, it's been a constant challenge, but we've been threading that needle nonstop to craft this series.
All right, next up we have the outlet Sky Talkers. Either Charlotte or Caitlin's going to have a question for us.
Hi, I'm Charlotte from Sky Talkers. Thanks so much for chatting with us today. It's such a privilege to chat with you.
Thank you.
Thanks. What can you tell us about the creation of our new character, Devin, and the process of developing her story alongside Maul's during this time period? Was she always going to be a former Jedi?
It's interesting you say that. We did have quite the evolution for that character at one point. It was another character. It was Brander Lawson's son, actually. That's right. And we pivoted from that because we found more story in what we ended up doing and challenging, to say the least. But she's a very interesting character. She's got this kind of devil on her shoulder in Maul.
All right, next up from Skywalking Through Neverland. This is Sarah.
Hey, or Richard. I'll take this one. Bright suns, everyone. Oh, bright suns, except if you live on Janix. One of the standouts of the series so far is this watercolor aesthetic. At what point in the development of the series did you decide to use this visual style?
Pretty much in the very beginning, we talk about the aesthetic that we want to move the show into. Pretty much at the same time as we're developing in the writers' conference, there's sketches that are being made. We're talking about what films influence us, what painters, artists influence us. So those discussions are up front because you kind of have to have an idea of what aesthetic you want to move towards to make sure you stick within parameters.
Yeah, and one thing too that Dave told us early on, he wanted to see the hand of the artist in frame. Okay, Dave, let's figure this out. So we've been talking about it in different interviews. It's fascinating. Our director of lighting, Joel Aaron, the mad wizard that he is, he would literally paint on glass and then photograph those images and incorporate them into the flesh tones and into the effects. And so we followed Dave's directive, and it helped us develop the style.
Thank you.
Next up from Jedi News, James Burns.
Thank you all so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Hi.
Hi. So my question is, why was now the right time to fill in Maul's story? And what challenges did you all face to bring him his own series?
Oof.
Challenge-wise, in terms of the visuals and production, I would say we upgraded about 20 to 30% of what we were doing previously. We wanted to try something new. We actually went back to old school ways of producing things by way of creating miniatures. We also did oil on canvas matte paintings that we then photographed and incorporated into the show. We upgraded the rigs for the animation, body mechanics, and facial performances. So in that front, that was the challenge, but it was a fun challenge to have. So we wanted to kind of upgrade it into more like cinematic sophistication.
Yeah, this show is the hardest show I've ever worked on. This show is the best show I've ever worked on. I think those kind of go hand in hand. And getting the, our character story is more nuanced than we've done on other shows, and our action is a little crazier than we've done on other shows. Those are really massive challenges, but it's super fun. We can't wait for everybody to see it.
Next
Thank you.
up
Thanks so much.
from the Ion Podcast, William Devereaux.
Let's see, staying spoiler free, is there an episode this season that stands out to you as your favorite, whether it's because of the story, the animation, or what it meant for the team behind the scenes? And if so, why? For all three of you, something for fans to maybe look forward to.
That's a hard one because I love all of it. I would say though, my favorite would be, how many episodes have you seen?
The first 8.
Okay, the 8th episode is one of my favorites just because it was extremely challenging and complex to achieve. And we had 2 rounds of creative retake notes. So we had to keep that episode open. We were even down to the wire of lighting, doing effects, even in post-production. We typically don't do that. We're usually like ahead, but we felt that it was important to get everything in there for that. And going into Maul's mental psyche in those 3 tunnel sequences, some of my favorite performances from Sam and the work done by the team.
I mean, I love that. oh, maybe that's it. Okay. That's a good answer. That was a great
Please answer. Please answer.
Okay. Episode 10. You haven't seen it yet. That's my favorite episode.
And I will add that I love them all for various reasons, but yeah, wait till you get to the last couple.
I like seeing the reactions on his face. It's great.
Love it. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up from Fantha Tracks, Mark Newbold.
Hi guys, Mark from Fantha Tracks. Love the look of Janix. It looks amazing. Love the fact that you got the design into the comic as well, into Shadow of Maul, which I thought was a great move. But my question is about Brandon Lawson. I think he's a brilliant character. What were the inspirations for him? He's like a detective. He's got the whole family thing going on. Was there an inspiration for that kind of character in Star Wars?
Yeah, I mean, look, we took a lot of these touchstones from classic serials that, with the DNA behind Star Wars, then a lot of modern cinema from like Heat to The Dark Knight to The Untouchables. I think we constantly take those touchstones. We talk about some of these characters like the Al Pacino Hannah character from Heat.
Huge.
There's a big part of that in Lawson. He's, one part Batman,
Commissioner Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
A
little John McClane.
Little John McClane.
Yeah.
Die Hard.
Yeah.
All right, everyone got a question, so we're going to go back around again and see if we can fit in a few more with the time we have left. David from Endor Express.
I just wanted to this might be repeating something someone asked, but for Brad directing this series, can you tell us about what are any specific challenges on this show versus all the other ones that you've directed in the past?
Yeah, they're all a challenge. The serialized nature of this show is new for us, and it brought its own challenges. We were talking about it a little bit in some of the other answers that we normally will go through the process of locking an episode and then we move on to the next episode. We couldn't do that. We had to keep them all terrifyingly, Athena, open a little bit, right? So as a director, just keeping, my eye on the prize so that we could tell the story as well as possible was just a challenge of its own. Also, the action. I love action so much. And when we're doing action right, it is a character of its own, the action set piece. So how we would take these amazing scripts from Maddie and his team and design these sets and how we film them. And I still don't know how we did some things, Athena. There were some crazy challenges all the way through, but our action was really, really difficult and really, really awesome.
I also felt like it was important to keep the episodes open because practice makes perfect. This was a whole new look for us. And I didn't want to be in a situation where I'm like, wow, episode 4 looks great. Gosh, I wish episode 1 looked that way. It has to be right out the gate. So once we got into it and we understood what we were doing, halfway through, we're like, all right, let's go back to 101 and 102 and redo certain sequences, to make sure that we have the animation correct, the look correct, everything makes sense. We also do continuity reviews where we look at the episodes over and over again to make sure we're not missing anything in that thread and everything makes sense. And in those continuity reviews, we have even more retakes because, it's like we have to have those contingency plans in there so it's done.
Yeah. Plus, we like keeping Brad on his toes.
Yes.
But this team, I mean, come on, we're having so much fun, but it's a challenge. This is the best in the biz. Like our team is so good. That's the only way we can do any of this stuff.
I'm having so much fun.
Thank you.
All right, back to fangirls going rogue. Trisha?
Yeah, I mean, you don't often get to tell a character story, like to deal with it this often. Like, what are the lessons learned of getting to really get into a character at a different stage?
Oh, wow. Honestly, it's been a challenge, and we are constantly trying to sort of write ourselves into a corner and then, figure out ways to get out of that, right? Drive ourselves crazy getting out of it and finding new situations, new facets, nuance, and depth to Maul, in addition to all these other new characters who are stuck together with him in this crazy roller coaster ride.
Sam Witwer has been a huge influence in keeping the character authentic and coming up with those ideas with Matt and Brad, and it's been awesome to witness that collaboration.
Huge.
And Kerwin and Keith?
Yes, Darth Maul met his demise in The Phantom Menace, but he returned from the dead, as we know. But since then, he's had several fascinating stories featuring Maul. Why do you believe Maul is so popular with Star Wars fans after more than 25 years?
The mystery of Maul, even as fans, when we first saw Phantom Menace, who is this guy? What is going on? And the fact that George and Dave and Maddie and Athena brought him back in the Clone Wars, I think the mystery of him is so tantalizing. And everybody loves a bad boy. Come on. He's so charismatic.
And his wardrobe's awesome.
His wardrobe is his wardrobe, his boots. His boots.
Okay, Bryan Young, full of Sith, back to you, please.
Athena, this is a lot for you on the production side. After 20 years of Lucasfilm animation, every season of every show seems to take a light year forward in sort of quality of production animation. How much of that comes from just how much you all have been able to produce over the years? Like, how much are you able to reuse from show to show? Does that affect the look of things? Like, how much are you able to build because you've been building it for 20 years?
It's a very good question. We try to reuse a lot, but there comes a point where you have to ask yourself, do you want to start from scratch or do you want to Frankenstein something? And sometimes when you Frankenstein something, it takes a lot more time and a lot more budget to get it to that point that you want to get it to. That's why we do a lot of development. I created a system called waves where you have, like, how can I say this so that it's understandable? Like 3 sets of design waves to equal a pilot of a script, because the pilot is going to be the first episode where you build the entire environment, all your characters, all the props, the vehicles, the projection mats, everything that you need. You can't just do that within 6 to 8 weeks, which is the time frame you get for one episode to design. So you get like 3 waves of 12 weeks to build an entire universe. There may be times where you can go to a particular grayscale like model and not use the textures from like Rebels or from Clone Wars and then retexture it to get that painterly look. But it's we rather do it from scratch to get it right. Plus the technology changes. There's different like versions of Maya out there, like Houdini and all of that we have to use. And we also have our internal proprietary tools that we utilize as well. But every show has been a challenge, but I have to say this one has been the most fun, but the most challenging. That the joke I say is if I were to get hit by a bus or my plane goes down, this would be the best show like in my book that I'd be happy to say that I've been a part of. And I always say that. That's why Filoni called me morbid, because I'll talk to Alex Spotswood, who was our co-EP. I'm like, dude, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I got to tell you where the budget is right now and where all those EFCs are. So we talk about those things every day.
Keep her away from buses.
No buses.
No buses.
No buses and planes.
And
No planes.
I just got to say, Athena is the best producer I've
Oh,
ever
yeah.
worked with.
Aw.
The best in biz.
Best.
And there's no way we can dream up all kinds of crazy stuff.
And we do.
But there's no way we could. I mean, we were just talking about it today. Is there anything we've dreamt up we couldn't do? The answer is no, because Athena is incredible.
It takes a village. It takes the whole team. And to answer your question too, we've worked with a lot of the same people in the last 20 years. And again, it's an internal family. The more you do it together, the more you understand the flow, you speak each other's language, everything becomes like an assembly line. And we just love doing what we're doing.
We love it. It's true.
All right, this concludes this roundtable. I'd like to thank you all for coming. Please have a quick goodbye, and please press the X at the bottom of the screen to leave the room.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Congrats on such an amazing show.
The series is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Season 2. Season 2. Season 2.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And if you haven't already watched the show, I don't know what better incentive you could have than listening to this episode and getting to it. And then, like I said, hopefully next week, Holly and I will be back to talk to you all about it. So till then, for super producer Mike Pilot, for Holly Fry, I'm Bryan Young, and the Force will be with you always.
Sir, if you'll not be needing me, I'll close down for a while.